Hello and welcome back to another episode of A Method to the Madness, our Breaking Bad edition. I'm your host, Mitchie, and joining me as usual is Patrick.
Hello.
And this is it, the amazing episode that we're going to cover, episode 14 of season 5, which is Ozymandias. Yeah, man, just so keen to talk about this. Like, this episode has only solidified my opinion that Breaking Bad is the best TV show of all time.
Yeah, bro, this is the episode, the one that everyone talks about when they mention Breaking Bad. You know, like this is like
It's so good.
a little microcosm of what the show, why the show has endured so long.
Yeah, it's all in this episode, and directed by Ryan Johnson too. Interestingly enough.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't know that.
Dude, so many weird directors throughout this, like, because Bryan Cranston also directed a bunch of episodes. I think Vince Gilligan also did some. Like, this is like a really experimental show, all in all.
Yeah, it's good. Creates that variety. Anyway, Can we go through the plot summary and then we can talk about the episode?
Okay. So, after Gomez is killed during the firefight with Jack's gang, Walt begs Jack not to kill Hank, even telling him about his $80 million buried nearby. Hank chides Walt for not understanding Jack is going to kill him anyway and accepts his death. Jack shoots and kills Hank. The gang discovers and steals 6 of Walt's money barrels. At Todd's request, they leave the 7th for Walt. They bury Hank and Gomez in the place of the barrels. Walt identifies Jesse hiding under one of the cars to Jack, telling him to complete his deal and kill him, but Todd suggests taking Jesse captive because he might be useful later. Walt spitefully reveals to Jesse that he allowed Jane to die. The gang detains Jesse in a cell, then forces him to cook meth. Unaware of what has transpired in the desert, Marie informs Skylar that Hank's arrested Walt. She forces Skylar to tell Walt Jr. the truth. Arriving home to a frantic Walt, he tries to convince his family to leave with him. Skylar's realization that Hank is dead causes an altercation, and Walter Jr. contacts the police. Walt takes Holly and flees. Marie and the police arrive at the Whites' home. Walt calls Skylar while the phone is being tapped and attempts to establish Skylar's innocence by berating her and falsely claiming he built up his drug business alone. Walt confirms Hank's death. He leaves Holly at the fire station with her home address written on a note. The next morning, Walt meets Saul's new identity contact, who drives away with Walt and the barrel. End of episode.
All right, where do we start? I guess, I guess the firefight, right? Or the end of it. The first thing we need to say is that we should pay our respects to Steve Gomez.
Yeah, dude. You got, like... I mean, you know, everything makes sense from a plot perspective. Like, yeah, you know, that's a Stephen Hank's death. But obviously, because Steve is like a minor character, his death just kind of gets overshadowed.
It's just literally pans over his dead body and he's face down.
Yeah.
I don't think you even get to see his face.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Dude, it's such an undignified death. Like,
yeah. It's so, it's unceremonial, which even Hank's death is. I mean, obviously, there's a lot to talk about with Hank's death, but when he dies, he doesn't even get to finish his sentence off. Jack kills him before he finishes his sentence off.
Yeah, but it was pretty cool. It was badass. He was like, "Do what you're gonna do."
Yeah, and then, no, and but he doesn't finish a sentence off. So it's again like the same kind of thing. It's like we're not giving these two characters like a ceremonious, dignified death. It's kind of very undignified to some degree, or just like very. I don't know, just such disregard for human life, I suppose, is a way to put it. Yeah, it's fucked up.
Yeah, no, definitely. Jack has like a really callous attitude toward, because like Hank doesn't mean anything to him. It means a lot to Walt, and that's why it's a big moment for us in the audience. But no, to Jack, he's just someone who needs to die. You know, there's no arguing about it. As Hank says, yeah, he made up his mind 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so much so that Walt cares so much that he discloses the information about the barrels, right? Like he's willing to throw all his money away for that, and he loses most of it. Yeah.
Dude, that's so interesting. Hey, he's willing to give up all his money to save Hank.
Yeah. In
that moment. Like, that is man, such a awesome little twist of character right there. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't have guessed that if I hadn't seen this for the first time, like, or if I was watching this for the first time, like, I don't know, that's so unexpected from Walt.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, it's just an awesome little flourish they added to, I don't know, his character.
Yeah, it's just like, and I really like Hank, like the way he dies the few minutes before he gets shot. It's just so kind of like, I don't know, just that like he's just accepting his death in a kind of honorable way. And I think we talked about last episode, the episode before, about how, you know, there's this culture with the police and especially with the Drug Enforcement Agency in America of like very kind of like black and white. People who do drugs or people who deal drugs are like utmost evil and the police are utmost good. And, you know, you can really see that shine here where it comes down to like, it's almost like he got captured by the enemy during a war, you know, and it's like by a brutal enemy that will kill you, and he's just accepted his fate. Like it's, you know, you can really see that kind of mentality shine through, and he kind of ends up being the cop that he always was and always wanted to be, you know, or not cop, but, you know, federal agent. It's very, you know, very, very fitting end to him.
He seems to go out with a lot of pride, but you know, fucking tell that to Marie, man. I'm sure she'll see it that way as well. Like, fuck. I mean, do you reckon there was any scenario in which he went out alive?
Nah.
No, yeah, probably not.
Unless they showed their badges beforehand, maybe. But I don't know. Yeah, he was bugging.
In my notes here, I just have written like in all caps, Steve, no. It must have been when I saw Steve get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, but you know, at the very first thing in the episode is that flashback, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And man, Walt and Skylar were so close in this flashback. Like they were actually really happy. Like they loved each other. And you know, like he sort of this illuminates this quality. Probably the most in the series is that Walt's life was not that terrible to begin with. Like, you know, I get, but that's the tragedy of being human. Hey, like you can only see through your own perspective.
Yeah.
And you know, Walt chose to focus on those things about how he feels like he's been slighted. But then, you know, one of the last lines Hank says is he turns to Walt and he goes, "You're the smartest guy I ever met." But you're too stupid to see that. He made up his mind. And dude, Hank has always respected Walt. Like he's a little mean at times, and you know, like he had that sort of toxic masculinity, back around the first season. But really, you know, as he said, like he thought Walt was like the smartest dude he knew. Like Walt really created all these hang-ups for himself, you know, like and yeah, man, it's fucking tragic, eh?
Yeah, a lot goes on in that flashback too. It's kind of one of the I think it's one of the first times that Walt lies to Skylar, right? He lies to her on the phone about where he is. So it's like that inception of lying, which becomes such a predominant theme through the entirety of the series. You know, it begins there. And also they name Holly too on that, which is also significant. Like, yeah, it's such a great flashback. And the fade out of like them, and then you know how the camper van and shit fades out and then everything else fades back in, like to present day. It's such a cool transition.
It is. It's it's so meaningful, eh? Like
yeah. And then the money. Sorry. Yeah. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna. I have written in my. I have a lot of like just little comments in my notes here, and one of them is just like, "Bro, this is grim." Is what I have written.
Dude, it's so grim. Like seriously, this episode and the next one is genuinely like for TV and movies, film, whatever. It's fucked up. Like a lot of fucked up shit happens in this. Like it's very, very twisted kind of thinking from the writers. You know, like it's really messed up. And I don't know, but you know, it doesn't feel like the thing with messed up things is that it feels kind of cheap and tacky. It's just a way to get your audience to, shock value kind of shit, right? But in this, it's fucked up, but it's emotionally truly fucked up too because you're so anchored to these characters. And I don't know, like the show is truly at its low point now, and it's amazing, really, how they do it.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah, the money. So obviously they dig up the money and they bury Stephen Gomez there, which, it's just, I don't know, so fateful, where they first cooked, he buried the money, where Hank ends up being buried. But the gang steals all the barrels. And then Todd is the one that says that they should give one to back to Walt, like allow him to keep one. And I don't know. It's just really interesting that Todd does that, because obviously he has this very strange respect for Walt, and also how Jack responds to it. How, like, you know, the other members of the gang try to dissuade Jack from giving Walt this barrel, you know, and then he's like, "Oh, what's with all the greed around here? It looks what do you say?
It's unattractive."
Yeah, it's unattractive. Yeah, and it's just like, man, like, you know, these guys are so villainous and so fucking psychopathic, but they just characterize him so well that it's just, you know, he's just such a great villain. Like, it's amazing. Like, you love it.
I have written in the notes for next episode about how Jack and Todd's relationship is really compelling. And, you know, this bit about, like, yeah, he goes, Jesus, what's with all the greed here? It's unattractive. I feel like that explains some things about Todd. Like, assuming that Jack was the one who raised him.
Yeah.
You know, we see that Todd doesn't really... He isn't about money. He's maybe sort of about power, but, like, I don't know. He was like born a criminal almost, and, like, it's weird how he has these weird sort of twisted values. He's just in a completely different world.
Yeah,
and yeah, I don't know. I can see some of Jack's weird criminal honor in Todd. There.
Yeah. It's like, of all people to give Walt that barrel, Todd, it's just strange, isn't it? Yeah. And then, of course, they shake hands. You know, Jack needs to know that Walt's square. And man, what a symbolic shot that is when they shake hands. Like, because, you know, he's got this big swastika on his hand, right, of a tattoo, and he shakes Walt's hand. It's just so, like, I don't know, just it's so kind of, I don't know how to describe it really, but just having that swastika there, very deliberate. I mean, of course, the makeup artist decided to put it there for that shot, I imagine. It just adds so much more meaning to it. Like, you know, even though this isn't remotely related to Nazism in any way, it doesn't really matter. It just kind of accentuates kind of how villainous this all is. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, man, that is weird, how, like, Breaking Bad doesn't really deal with, like, racism at all, but
not at all.
Yeah, it's just yeah. I agree. It is a good little symbol to put in there.
Yeah, and then this is a bloody long scene, isn't it? Just keep.
Yeah, he goes on. Yeah, he goes on for a while. I like how, you know, Walt gets in the car and he can't look at himself in the mirror.
Yeah,
he turns it away.
Yeah,
when he's and, you know, classic. What would you call that? Like. Yeah, it's just it's symbolic. Like, he can't stand to face himself because deep down he knows he's a monster. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But before he gets in the car, he obviously, you know, snitches on Jesse, sees him hiding under the car, and they take him out and they're about to shoot him. But Todd decides to save Jesse for whatever fucking reason. And man, big shit happens here. Walt tells Jesse about Jane, and holy fuck, like, I don't know, like, just that whole bit with Jesse, you know, like, this whole time we've been doing this podcast, I have sympathized with Jesse so much more, and he's become my favorite character. You know, he just is so human to me, and just always kind of wants to do the right thing but can't. And, you know, when they're about to shoot him and he looks up at the sky and there's, like, an eagle flying, and I'm just like, bruh, like, such acceptance of death, like holy shit, his journey is over. But then, of course, it's not, and then he gets dragged back into the world by Todd. But yeah, and then yeah.
There's a lot of death accepting in this episode.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's nice to see that, though, as opposed to, like, begging and not wanting to die kind of thing. And then and then Walt tells Jesse about Jane. Like, what a fucking blow to this man who has suffered so much, you know, and is inherently a good person. Like, I mean, Jesse, and he's being taken away, and God knows what's going to happen to him now. He's just going to be tortured by these, you know, nut job psychopaths. And then Walt says this to him, that he could have saved Jane, and that beautiful relationship that he had, he loved her so much, you know, was ended by Walt to some degree. And man, what a way to, like, end their relationship, because more or less it has ended here.
Yeah, what a such a hateful thing to do.
Oh.
It's like the last thing, as he's dragging away to get tortured and murdered, he just gives this one little fuck you to Jesse. Like,
I know,
god damn,
it's like the perfect moment for it to be divulged, right? Like,
yeah,
it's just, yeah, that shit's just intense, man. Like, just feeling Jesse's emotions. Yeah.
I think he must have been a bit confused too. Like, first of all, it kind of came out of like nowhere, but also it's like, what do you mean you were there? Like, what? That makes why? I mean, you know, we know why he was there. He was, what was he? He was trying to get the money or something, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Why was Walt there?
To get the money.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah. Pretty
But
sure.
I mean, you know, Jesse doesn't know that. Like, why? Jesse's thinking, what? Why the fuck would Walt be in my home at like?
Yeah, you
at
would be
night
so
while I'm-
confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's just like it's again tying up loose ends, right? Which this show just keeps on doing. It's like, man, they got you. Imagine writing a story like this, and it's so complicated, and you got this list of like shit to tie off, you know. And that was one thing, and they picked the perfect moment to tie it off in. Like, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I guess that's, you know, because while this is like a kind of singular vision, it's written by a room of writers. That's the thing when you have multiple minds working on stuff like this. Hey, you can always, someone is bound to pick up on loose ends like that.
Yeah, true. Yeah. All right, and then after this scene, which runs for like almost half the episode, I think. Obviously, we get the bit where Marie makes Skylar confess to Walt Jr. about his father's criminality. Was it?
Sorry, before that.
Was there a bit before that?
So, yeah, there is a bit before that. Walt drives off and then the car breaks down.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
then he's rolling the barrel.
Yeah.
I mean, this is meant to be like Sisyphus rolling this rock up the hill, right?
Yeah.
Did you get that as well? Yeah.
No, I didn't get that, but I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, it's Sisyphus rolling his barrel. And I don't know, I was trying to think of like the parallels to this. It's like maybe it's like the tragedy of humans are like constant and recurring throughout history.
Yeah.
You know, because you know, the title Ozymandias, it's a reference to that poem about like empires, about how there's always going to be some fucking megalomaniac who tries to rule the world. And they're always doomed, you know, they always can't see how tragic their story really is.
Right.
And that's, yeah, I don't know, it's just a recurring story throughout human history, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels very, I don't know, like it's just a story about this one dude, but there's so much like struggle in it that there's a lot of things that everyone can relate to in it, you know, like a lot of other stories that it relates to too, you know.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I guess like Walt embodies like a really versatile archetype of just like follies and you know, just hang-ups of people of trivial and important nature.
Yeah.
Just everything that can go wrong in a person's life is sort of embodied in Walt, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, and then we get to the scene in the car wash, and
yeah,
I don't know. Marie's just so like, again, as usual, being righteous because, you know, she doesn't know about Hank dying. She thinks Hank has captured Walt and taken him to the police station. And then she makes, you know, Skylar tell her son about Walt's criminalities, and I don't know. Is it really necessary? Like, it's kind of brutal, really.
Yeah, I mean, the other alternative is because, you know, she still thinks that what's going to happen from here is that, you know, Walt's going to get arrested and tried. So her reasoning is that, well, he should hear it from his family rather than the police.
Yeah,
which is, I don't actually know if that would be better. You know, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? Like, but she seems so righteous to think that that's the right thing to do. Like, it's almost not like, you know, we obviously sympathize for Marie because her husband's dead now, because we know about that. But I don't know. It's just, again, kind of like that continuation of their righteousness, which is, to me, has been a little bit like negative. Well, I've interpreted it negatively, like not as a positive thing over the last few episodes. So anyway.
And then
yeah,
Walter Jr. says to Skylar, like, if this is all true and you knew about it, you're just as bad as him.
Yeah.
And I just wrote, man, like, Skylar has it rough, eh?
Yeah.
Fuck, what a position she's been in.
I know. Yeah. And it only gets rougher because they get home and Walt's there, dirty as fuck with his random pickup truck in the driveway. Like,
I think this scene at the house is probably the most intense scene in the series for me.
Yeah.
Like, emotional intensity.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like we often attribute intensity to action. But no, this is definitely the most intense scene in the entire series. And I once watched like a behind the scenes thing of this.
Yep.
And it was really interesting, man. The way they conduct the actors in this scene, it's like they sort of try to preserve the mood in between takes.
Right.
And try to have like a sullen mood, like as they're shooting this whole scene.
Yep.
And yeah, like there was, that scene where Skylar runs out into the road and like kind of just gets on her knees and starts crying. Like there was someone with like a blanket that they wrapped around the actress and a gun when they said cut, and they kind of like walked away. And man, like that shit, like, because acting is a pretty like emotionally taxing job, right? Sometimes, especially in moments like this. Like, so that was really interesting to me.
Yeah, I've read that I've read something where she talked about how intense that scene was.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking hell. Like, man, like you know, when you're watching this for the first time, you don't know where this is going, right? Like, I mean, firstly, for the first time, we get Walt really confess, not completely, but he mostly tells Walt Jr. and Skylar about, he's a criminal, basically, right? No doubt about that. So the truth's out to Walt Jr., but he already knew that anyway. And yeah, I mean, the main thing that all of this kind of depends on is Hank. Where is he? They knew that Hank was arresting him. So if he's escaped from Hank, where the fuck is Hank? And that's where the conflict arises from, which I find very interesting. Like it's this kind of familial strength, like this bond, like Walt's detestable when he's a criminal, but he probably could have persuaded them to come with him, I don't know, like, but once it's revealed that Hank is dead and that Walt has something to do with that, then they've drawn he's crossed the line. Like, he's not even a father to them anymore. Like,
yeah, dude, yeah, he's like, I like how he's kind of he's kind of delusional in this scene as well, like as if he's trying to convince himself that, like, Hank didn't just get murdered in front of him. But obviously Skylar's like pushing this. She's like, no, we need to know where is Hank. And then dude, just the way Bryan Cranston delivers that line where he's like, I tried to save him.
He's so good.
Yeah. It's upsetting. It's such delicious fucking drama though. And then yeah, Skylar finally stands up. Well, not finally. She stands up to Walt a lot of times throughout the series, but she actually fucking pulls a knife on him this time.
Yeah, which is I like that shot though when she's going for the knife and there's a phone and a knife there. Which obviously relates to the opening scene because it was the exact same shot of the knife and the phone too. But I was wondering whether she was going to pick up the knife or the phone or something. It's like a choice there. Like, is she going to call the police or pick up the knife and defend her family physically? Like, and it's an interesting choice she makes.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I was really connecting with Walter Jr. in this scene because I mean, obviously nothing as bad as this has happened to me, but like I have been, as a kid, I was in the middle of a lot of like fights between parents and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
like this sort of like the emotions were like very real in this scene of like, and I love Flynn's decision to, like he recognized like, fuck, my dad's actually gone crazy. Like I need to protect my mom.
It is interesting though, Flynn, because she pulled the knife on him and kind of swiped at him first, right? Like, I don't know. Like from me, I was kind of looking at it from Walt Jr.'s perspective, and he could have really gone either way with that. Like, I suppose a Hank being dead is the last straw kind of thing. But yeah, that shot where he's like, protecting his mum and Walt's standing up over them and, he starts calling the police. Fuck, man, that hits hard. Like,
yeah,
holy shit.
We're a family.
I know. Like, so much for all that. Like, fucking hell. And then he takes Holly and... that just basically like signs a deal on whether Walt is a human being or not. Like, stealing a baby like that is, although arguably it is his daughter too, right? Like, like kind of understandable why he would do that. And then like you said before, that he drives off and Skylar runs out onto the street, and that is single-handedly, easily, I think, one of the most distressing scenes I've ever witnessed on a TV. Like, fucking hell.
Yeah, I like how it's not a very like clean scene in terms of like, you know how he backs into Skylar's car that's blocking him in.
Yeah.
Like that's quite a strange detail, but it just adds like this messiness to the scene. Like, and it just enriches it so much for me. Yeah.
Yeah, because you could have just driven around it, you know, like.
Yeah. It's like just so hectic and so distressing.
Yeah, legit. It's like when, I don't know, you're just watching an intense scene in a film, and then the music gets even louder, and you're like, fuck, like I don't want to deal with this shit, like I'm getting emotionally restrained right now. And that's what happens when he like crashes into that car and it's like spends a solid 10 seconds trying to reverse it back out, like yeah. And yeah, it's just like she comes out and she's covered in blood, like it's fucking nightmarish, you know, like this is truly distressing and messed up, no doubt about that. And you know, nothing graphic happens. Like that's the great thing about it. Yeah, it's one of the most distressing scenes in cinema, like in film and TV. Like, you know, I don't like with no violence. It's just really interesting, or no graphic violence. Like, yeah, to be able to do that is just amazing.
Yeah, and that bit where they're fighting over the knife, I feel like that. It was somehow like really well choreographed. Like it felt very real. Yeah, like because again, like it's such a unique bit of action that, you know, because action is punch dude and dude punches you back. Like it's not this. Yeah, and just the way they're like kind of you can the way they're like they're holding each other's hands and like kind of shaking, and like it actually looks like both of them are applying force to the other one. Yeah, like I don't know, it's fucking perfect.
Yeah, seriously, like yeah, and yeah, it's so old, and I don't know, like the action in Breaking Bad always has been good. Like it's never got a moment where you're like, oh, that looked a bit sus or a bit strange, you know, like I didn't like that. It's just always good. Yeah, they just nail everything in this. Like they get nothing wrong. Like it's just unbelievable. Yeah, and then I guess the final bit is the phone call between Hank and Walt while the police are with Hank and Walt.
You mean Skylar?
Yeah, Skylar and Walt. Hank calling from the dead. What do you do? Walt, sussy bucker.
You murdered me, sussy bucker.
Between Skylar and Walt, and this again is just gut-wrenching scene, you know, like because obviously you know what's going on. Walt's trying to, you know, cook up this idea that Skylar wasn't really involved at all, so the police know, and you know he asks whether the police are there, and she says no, and he's meant to believe that, and obviously he knows the police are there. It's just like, yeah, you can see exactly what's going on, and it's so distressing because he's just trying to not to cry while he's on the phone, trying to be terrible and mean and saying all these nasty things. It's fucked.
Yeah, I mean,
but clever.
It's weird how the like the valence of like Walt's evilness changes from the house scene to this scene. You know, I've said a number of times how Walt is like kind of like on a high, like when he feels powerful, like completely evil in this scene where he steals Holly, and then once he's out there, he has the you know, self-awareness to be like, fuck, I've fucked up, everything's fucked, I can do this one last bit of good for my family, like true good. Yeah, and he sort of makes that phone call.
It's also very smart too.
Yeah, and man, just the performances again are insane in this scene, especially from Bryan Cranston when he's like, yeah, he's God, how do you even do that? How do you even embody a character that much? Where you're actually on the verge of tears, or you actually are crying, but you have to deliver this this phone call in like a really in a character.
Yeah, it's very it must be so difficult to act that out like that. Yeah, you know, like this multiple kind of emotions within the TV show, within the story, you know, and then you got to act that out. Like
exactly, yeah. Also, were those Holly's first words when she said "mama"?
Yeah, probably first on screen, right? Yeah, I don't think we've ever heard her say anything.
So I think that was meant to be significant too, that her first words ever were calling for a mum.
Yeah.
And that sort of makes Walt realise, yeah.
Yeah, fucking hell. Well, he obviously makes a decision to return her and chucks her in a fire engine.
Yeah. How do they get... And then she starts crying. How do they get that performance out of her, man? Out of the actor for Holly?
Oh, they had a little electric prod
a
thing tied around her and they pressed a button when she needed to cry.
I was just about to say they had a little baby taser.
Yeah.
And they fucking just prodded her and, all right, roll the camera. She's crying.
Nah, I guess luck. Because like it was an easy shot to repetitively shoot, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe they had a thing in the credits where like no babies were deliberately made to cry in the shooting of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the idea that he drops Holly off at a fire station, because like it's just that classic kind of like fire station-y thing to do, like
abandoning your child there.
Yeah, or there's a distressed dog or something that needs help, and the fireman will save it. Like the firemen are just like these paragons of like, I don't know, they're just good people.
Yeah, because you have to volunteer. Like, if you're a firefighter, it's because you want to help the community.
Yeah,
good.
Because you never have a situation as a fireman to do the wrong thing, right? Like you never have to kill anything. You're literally only saving people's lives. Like,
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I would trust firemen too. Like if I had to drop Holly off somewhere random, the fire station would be the best bet, or the police station.
Yeah, except Walt probably wouldn't want to go to a police station.
No, yeah, exactly. True. Yeah. Was that the end of the episode?
Well, there was just one last bit about, we see Jesse in his cage for the first time.
Oh my God.
And he's all cut up, and Todd comes down there and Jesse's like, man, I told you everything. And it kind of implies that that Todd is the one who was torturing Jesse.
Yeah.
It's such a fucked up relationship how Todd is like kind of nice to him.
Yeah.
But, we never see the torture, but it's implied that Todd is the one doing it. And it's just like, fuck, man, what even is Todd?
and also in this episode, we see him chained in the lab, right? And he like has struggle walking, and then he sees a picture of Andrea on the wall with Brock. So yeah, dude. Like I said, the lowest point of the series, like genuinely fucked up shit. Like what they're doing to Jesse is like seriously messed up. You don't see that very often in like movies and stuff. And to this level, it's great. Like amazing writing and everything.
Yeah, and that's why this is the greatest show ever.
Legit. I cannot like it's. Yeah, no argument. Like I really like Westworld, and I personally like Westworld more for my personal reasons, but no doubt about it, Breaking Bad is like just the best show ever.
Yes.
I haven't seen every single TV show, but I reckon that's a statement that could honestly be true.
Yeah, if I was a betting man and I betted on the objective best show on TV, my money would probably be on this.
Yeah. Bro, this is when we die and all the questions are answered. This is one of them.
when I'm going to go up to St. Peter and be like, yo, Pete's, what is the best TV show? And he's going to be like, mate, you already know the answer. Like, fuck yeah, my man.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then he's going to send me to hell because I'm no saint.
Nah, you like Breaking Bad. The real sinners are the ones that don't like Breaking Bad, and I know a couple people that don't, so they're going to hell. Anyway, you got anything else to say?
No, that's it.
Cool. Yeah, fuck. That was also our longest Breaking Bad episode.
I mean, I thought it would be.
Yeah. It's just funny how it ended up being like that. Anyway, join us next time. We're almost at the end. We've got episode 15 next, and then the finale after that. So what is this, the penultimate episode next?
Yeah.
Join us for that.
All right, see you later.
See ya. What are you doing? What are you doing?
I need the police. My dad, he put a knife on my mom. He attacked her. He's dangerous. I think he might have killed somebody. Yeah. He's still here. Yeah, he's still in the house. We're at 308 Negro Arroyo Lane. 308 Negro Arroyo Lane. You gotta come quick, hurry. Oh, God, no. Oh my God, no! Walt! Mom! No! Walt! Walt, please, no! No! Let her go! You can't take her! Let go, please! You can't take her! Let her go! Please, no! Please! No! Walt! Please, no! Walt! Please, stop! Walt!
If you like this series, Mitch is going to tell you where you can find more of these.
Yep, so you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. And we've also got a website, amttm.com, where you can find our fabulous episodes on Breaking Bad.
If you have any questions, queries, insights, or criticism, you can send them to mail@amttm.com.
And as always, thank you for listening.